Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as I show you how to divide a hellebore plant. So let's go. Hellebores, also known as Lenten roses, are a beautiful plant that bloom typically in the late winter to early spring months. The plant is hardy here where I live in New Hampshire Zone 5B. Now, I love this plant. I love it for its foliage. I love it for the blooms that it puts out. But I have to tell you, it's a very expensive plant. I've only bought two before. This is one of them, and then I have another one on the other side of my house. And I've divided this plant a few times. I like to divide the plant every year just to keep increasing my stock in this plant. However, a typical indicator that the plant needs to be divided is that it starts splaying in the center of the plant. So if you have a nice big hellebore and you're wondering why it's open in the center of the plant, that's usually why. It's time for the plant to be divided. The best time to divide hellebores is late winter, early spring, or early fall. I'm about 1 month away from the first day of fall. It's not the most optimal time for me to be dividing this plant, but since I'm currently working on cleaning out and reorganizing this flower bed, it's a good time for me to divide this plant. The key is I need to make sure I'm giving this plant lots of water every day until it establishes itself with its roots. There are a couple of ways you can divide the plant. You can take a large shovel and you can slice it right in half or in thirds or however you want to do it, just by taking your shovel straight in and cutting down into the plant. You might have seen in a lot of my videos, I prefer to dig up a whole entire plant and then divide it that way. I just feel like I have a lot more control when dividing a plant. But you do what's easiest for you if you want to divide your hellebore. You'll notice that this area is getting some sun. Normally hellebores thrive in a more shady location. Where this bed is located, we recently limbed up the trees, so more sun is coming in than usual. I'm going to have to see how this hellebore does in this bed. But for this year, the goal is to just divide it, place it back in this bed, and if I feel like it's not doing well in this area, I can always move it to a more shadier part of my yard on a different day. I'm just going to be using a large shovel to dig my hellebore plant. Whenever you're digging any plant out of the ground, you want to make sure you're not digging right at the crown or the base of the plant. You always want to dig out at least 1 or 2 inches away from the base of the plant. If I wanted to, I could say, okay, we took one plant and we divided it into two when we dug them up. I'm actually going to want to divide these down even further just because every year my goal is to keep increasing my stock in hellebore. In fact, if you look just beyond the two hellebore that we just dug up, there are a couple of small hellebore there. There's at least 3 plants there. Those were all divided off of one main mother plant here. So in just a few years' time, we right now have 5 plants, but we're going to have more once we divide these 2 plants up. And I do like dividing my plants down to small pieces because I'm just trying to increase my stock. And over time, those small plants will become larger. And I have patience. I'm willing to wait. When dividing your plant, you want to make sure that each division has some foliage on the top, some leaves, and that each division also has some amount of roots at the base. That's very, very important. And you can use whatever you want to make your divisions. You can use a serrated knife. You can use a shovel. I like to just use a small handsaw. The brand name is Corona, but I know that there are other brands out there. I really enjoy using this handsaw. You just press the button like this and it opens it up. And you'll notice that it's pretty sharp. So you always want to be careful when you're using sharp tools. And you also want to make sure that any tool that you use to make your divisions has been properly sterilized. I like to use rubbing alcohol to sterilize my tools. And I'm just looking for a good place for me to make the division. And I'm noticing right here between this plant and all of these plants, I could come right in and make a cut. Once again, you don't have to divide your plants down to a single plant. I prefer to do that, but you can always divide them down to whatever size that you want for your hellebores. So I'm looking in here and I can see, again, I could come in here and make a division right in there. Now I'm just going to go ahead and place one of my divisions in a planting hole. This area had mulch in it, so I just removed the mulch just to clean up the space. In terms of how deep to plant your hellebore, you want to plant it just as deep as it was from where you dug up your plant. Just make sure that the roots are beneath soil level and that the crown of the plant is above soil level. So that's actually a pretty good depth right there. So now what we can do is backfill. I'm going to push down, backfill some more. And since I had mulch here, I'm just going to put the mulch back. I'm going to go ahead and give this a nice drink of water. And I want to make sure that I'm watering it daily, especially during dry spells if we haven't had any rain. Dividing hellebores is really that simple. For whatever reason, a lot of people get nervous about dividing their hellebores. Again, I think part of it is that it is an expensive plant and we don't want to ruin our plant. But the plants are very resilient, and as long as you're doing it during the right time of year, as long as you're giving it proper water after you transplant it, the plant will recover. And look, I still have a few more divisions that I can put somewhere else in my landscape. I really hope you enjoyed this instructional video. Be on the lookout. I'll be doing a lot more videos just like this, showing you how to divide your plants to increase your stock in certain plants. I'll also put a link to a playlist down below in case you're interested on how to divide other perennials in your garden. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them below. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.